Hello, jr4. This is the reading lesson in Unit 12. A desert oasis, the lost city. But before we start, I'd like you to think of words to do with a desert. For example, sand, sun, hot, snakes, insects, sand dunes, like the ones in the picture, date palms, camel train. Camel train. This is several camels in a line carrying heavy objects from place to another. We can see also oases in the desert. This is the place where there is water. Okay. We can see also tourists there where they can buy souvenirs or presents. Okay. We can see ruins. These are the parts of old buildings that fell down long time ago. Okay, so this story happened in the desert. Okay, the lost city. The lost means that something we cannot find. Okay, I'm going to read the story and I hope you pay attention because I'm going to ask you questions about it. Let's start. The adventure began when Jenny sat next to a giant ear. The adventure means exciting experience or exciting journey. So the adventure began when Jenny sat next to a giant ear. Here's Jenny in the picture. She sat next to a giant ear. Giant means very, very big. Okay. I'm too hot and tired to go any further. Okay, so Jenny was very tired and hot. Okay, she was in the desert, of course, and she was very exhausted. She said, "We left the oasis hours ago." Okay, she had a rest in an oasis. Okay, but now she was very hot and tired. It's time for a rest. She put her bag on the hot rock beside her and then exclaimed. Who exclaimed? Jenny, of course. Okay, exclaimed means shouted, okay, or cried out. Look at this, it's an enormous ear. She saw a very, very, very big ear, or giant ear, as she said, okay, before. She stood up and brushed a little sand off the rock. Okay, there was sand on the rock. She brushed the sand off the rock. Here's an eye, and down here there is a nose. It's a huge face. It's a very big face. So, was it a real face? No. Okay, let's go on. Uncle Jim was amazed. He was astonished or surprised. It's the head of a statue. So, this face belonged to the statue. He said, but why is it here in the middle of the desert? He was asking a question. Pete was looking at the ground. These big flat stones look like a floor, he said. What does he refer to? Pete, yes. He was saying these words. These big flat stones look like a floor, he said. He stepped onto the first stone. It slid away under his foot and he was nearly fell over. Okay, as you see in the picture. But Uncle Jim grabbed his arm. He seized his arm. Okay, he grabbed his arm in order not to fall over. Okay, they stared into a narrow, dark hole in the ground. What was there? Okay, under the stone, there was a narrow, dark hole in the ground. What's down there? Asked Pete. Uncle Jim knelt down He sat on his knees and shone his torch into the hole. Okay, he shone his torch because it was dark. Okay, he needed light, so he shone his torch into the hole. What can you see? Asked Pete. Uncle Jim was silent. Oh, isn't there anything down there? Asked Jenny. She sounded disappointed. She seemed to be unhappy. Okay? Disappointed means frustrated or unhappy. There is a big room down there, said Uncle Jim. There was a big room. I can see tall pots and furniture. Where? In the hall. Okay? It might be very valuable. So it might be a treasure, okay, and worth a lot of money. I must phone the city museum. Who said these words? I must phone the city museum. His uncle Jim. Okay. Now questions. I'd like you to answer the following questions about the text. Why did Jenny want to sit down? Why did Jenny want to sit down? Of course, because she was hot and tired. Next question. What did she sit next to? What did she sit next to? Yes, she sat next to a giant ear. Was it a real ear? Of course, no, it wasn't. What did the head belong to? It was the head of a statue. Next question. What was under the big flat stones? What was under the big flat stones? A dark hole. What could Uncle James see? Tall pots and furniture. Tall pots and furniture. So, what do you think was going to happen in the story? Let's go on. Just then, they heard a distant hum, a sound, okay? Jenny looked up. A car is coming, she said. Quick, let's put this map over the hole. They wanted here to hide the hole because someone was coming. Okay, two men were coming here. We shouldn't tell anyone about it. About what? About the hole. So it refers to the hole. Sometimes people take valuable things and sell them as souvenirs. That's why they didn't or they shouldn't tell anyone about the hole, because people take these valuable things and sell them as souvenirs or as presents. How can we hide the head? How can we hide the head? Asked Pete. I know, said Jenny. I'll put my big scarf over the head. So she put her scarf over the head to hide it. If we put the water bottles and some fruit on the scarf, it will look like a picnic. Then we'll sit on the head. Hurry, hurry, okay, to hide the hole and the head. The big silver 4x4 roared. What was it? It was a car, okay, around the sand dunes. Two men got out and walked across the sand. Hi, said the first man. Are you looking for something special? We're not looking for anything at all, said Uncle Jim. We're just tourists. The two men looked at them suspiciously. Okay? They did not trust them. If you find anything interesting, we'll pay you money for it, said the second man. We haven't seen anything interesting all day, said Jenny. No camels, trains, no ruins, not even a date palm. It's very boring. It's not interesting. It was just a desert. The two men drove away, and Uncle Jim phoned the museum. He spoke to Professor Hammett for a long time. Professor Hammett was an archaeologist. Okay, he an archaeologist, a person who studies historical objects. Who worked? Okay, he was an archaeologist who worked at the museum. When he arrived, he looked into the hall. Uncle Hamid looked into the hall. We have found something exciting, asked Pete. Professor Hamid smiled. Do you remember the two men who were in the 4x4? Pete and Jenny nodded. They said yes by moving their heads. Okay, those men are looking for something. Treasure, suggested the children at once. Professor Hamid nodded. They are looking for a lost city. Okay, he said. And guess what? I think you have found it. They have found the lost city. Okay, let's ask question. How did they hide the hole? Okay, of course, with the map. Okay, how did they hide the head? With Jenny's scarf. Next question. Who came in the 4x4? The car. Okay. Who came in the 4x4? Of course, two men. What did they want? They wanted anything interesting. Where did Professor Hamid work? Okay, he was an archaeologist, so he worked at the museum. Of course, this is the answer. At the museum. What were the two men looking for? They were looking for a lost city. Who has found it? Who has found the lost city? Yes, Ginny and Pete. Okay, thank you for listening, but I'd like you to retell the story using your own words. Okay, thank you very much.